Hello and welcome all into the MO podcast. You're here with me, Consummation San, and my lovely co-host,
Andrea.
And today we are going to be talking about the legendary Kraken and any and all sea beasties that are out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, the Kraken is, if you don't know, it's a legendary cephalopod, which is the genus of squids, octopuses, cuttlefish, and something called a nautilus.
Ooh.
Which I thought was quite just a cool little name. I thought it's not just the submarine.
I was going to say that was out of Captain Nemo, wasn't it? Is that 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea?
Leagues Under the Sea, yeah. It's actually a...
Cool.
It's not a fish. It's like a thing in a shell.
Like a snail.
Yeah, that swims.
Oh, how awesome would a snail feel if it was going around calling itself the Nautilus?
Yeah, rather than just getting stood on at the end of your drive. I think already a snail looks down upon slugs. So if it went around calling itself a nautilus, I just imagine slugs would be so pissed off with it.
Well, yeah, because they're already homeless snails, aren't they? Really?
That's it. They're right at the bottom of the slimy insect chain, I suppose.
Yeah, and you never feel bad. I mean, I'm probably just speaking for myself here, but you never feel bad accidentally standing on a slug, because if you stand on a snail, you hear the crunch and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Snail. I've not only just killed you, but destroyed your house. I've killed you in your actual house. But then if you step on a slug, you end up going arse over tits, don't you? Because you just whoop, and you just slip on the slime. So then you're like, bastard slug!
It's the crunch of remorse and regret, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
And you go, no, what have I done? Think of the children.
Yeah.
Whereas with a slug, you just kind of like do the splits and split your kipper, and you're like, oh, you bastard.
Yeah, you're too busy nursing your bruised coccyx and cursing that fucking slug.
You are indeed, yeah. But anyway, we digress.
Off topic, yes.
Yeah. So, bring it back to the Kraken. So, the Kraken was first mentioned in the Norwegian natural history work, and that was called Konungsugashia. Right, I know I'm going to get corrected on that.
I was going to say, Kat's going to message, she's messaging you right now.
And that was in 1250. It's been in the consciousness for a while, but it was only in Scandinavian consciousness, I suppose. It does actually, the word Kraken comes from the Old Norse word krakai, and I think a plural of that, which is krak, means unhealthy animal or something twisted. I'm going to get corrected on that as well and shouted at quite a lot, but there you go, it's just the research.
Yeah, if that's what it is, that's pretty mean. Does the Kraken know that that's what people think of it? You're a disgusting, twisted thing. Actually, I'm a squid.
Get your facts right. I'm cephalopod, yo.
Yeah.
If I had a name like Nautilus, you wouldn't be saying these things about me.
Exactly.
It was mainly mentioned in Scandinavian literature. It was Greenland, Icelandic sagas, Swedish Viking sagas that the Kraken was actually mentioned in. And Carl Linnaeus, he was basically the father of modern biological classification, actually included it in his first System Naturae, which was kind of how we call animals with the Latin names. That was kind of the beginning. That was in 1735. So it wasn't mentioned in later revisions of the book, but at this time he thought it was a beast. Alfred Tennyson wrote about in the 1800s. He wrote a sonnet about the Kraken, which he described it as a monster living at the bottom of the sea. And then through the 1900s, it got a mention in Moby Dick in 1851, and again in Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, there was one part of the book where they fight monstrous squids that are called Kraken in it. In 1857, not like an over in it, just
They fight the Kraken, innit?
throw your hands with a Kraken in it, yo. Oh,
Sorry.
geez. Oh, it's all right, isn't it?
No.
Hanging around with over too much.
Sorry.
So, in 1857, the Danish naturalist Japetus Steenstrup examined a large squid beak that had washed up years earlier, along with some samples that he was sent from the Bahamas, and he actually concluded that these were from a massive cephalopod, and he named it Architeuthis du, which meant ruling squid. So they were pretty adamant that this was something that was out there in the seas. I mean, with it being mentioned in Norwegian Scandinavian literature, obviously they were seagoing, as we know they were Vikings, so they must have spent some of their time in the sea.
Didn't it start getting written on maps as well? Like they would draw pictures of like a giant squid or a giant like a massive sea serpent and stuff, and they would put like warnings across the maps that they were drawing, like here be sea serpents and here be kraken, here be monsters and stuff like that.
Yeah, they were in some pictures that I have seen of maps. They do actually, I suppose, like we would have now when you have like migration of whales and stuff. You can see it if you like Google it. You can see it on a map but they had actual real maps when they were a thing of these beasts and where they would be located in the sea or where they'd come across them in the sea. I mean, the descriptions vary from round and flat and full of arms or branches to kind of a gigantic squid-like creature that was fearsome and fearless. It could attack ships, and if it couldn't pull them down, what it would do it would swim around the ship and create a maelstrom, and that would drag the ship down eventually. It was also said to be able to devour a whole ship and their crew in one go.
Terrifying.
Yeah, hungry.
Yeah.
Thing that it is. And as well, this is pre-1900s, and I suppose they don't have a lot of knowledge about what's out and about and what things should look like. So, especially if you're in a rough sea and it's late at night and you come across something that you feel shouldn't be there, I'm sure it would have been horrendous.
Yeah.
So it was said that a sudden gathering of fish or a pungent odour is a sure sign of the Kraken, because its poop was reputed to gather swathes of fish to feed on.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was actually said that this muddiness is said to be agreeable to the smell or taste of other fishes.
Oh, how?
So, yeah, if you've seen a load of fish coming to the surface and then if someone drops one, you know you need to get out of Dodge quite quick.
Or if the waters around your ship start turning black and music starts playing in the background and people start yelling, Karen! Sorry, I was playing Sea of Thieves too much, I think.
Indeed, yeah. Why would they shout Karen?
Kraken?
You said Karen.
I know. That's what Cat calls it, Karen.
Oh, okay.
I think it's because it's just got a bit of an attitude problem.
Yeah, why not? So why would people think that there is this kind of beast out there? Well, there is the giant squid, and that can reach up to 13 metres in length. They do live in very deep water, but you can find them pretty much all around the world. They're the main prey of sperm whales, and they're often found in sperm whales' stomachs. And sperm whales have also been witnessed by having sucker scars around their mouths, where the squids have given it up to the last, and they've kind of like done a cartoonish thing where they stick on the window, but just to the face of a sperm whale.
Oh, what a way to go.
Yeah, and there's the colossal squid as well, which can reach up to 14 metres, and they can weigh up to 500 kilograms.
And we only discovered those recently.
Yeah, so they do have claws on their tentacles as well, and that's quite scary if you got not just getting suckered, but you're getting cut up.
Yes.
From them, and like you say, we've only just discovered these recently, and only about 500 have been studied so far. So they're only found in the Antarctic as well. So there's not a lot known about these. So obviously, out of the 500, the biggest one that has been found is 495 kilos and was up to 14 meters. But obviously, only 500 have been studied. So there could be bigger ones there.
That's the thing. Everybody was like, oh, a giant squid, there's no such thing, it's rubbish, it doesn't exist. And then we found a giant squid. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, well, it's not exactly giant, is it? It's not like Kraken giant, it's just bigger than what we actually thought. It's like, well, yeah, but you thought it was, not a thing. You thought it was pretend and it was made up, and now you've discovered that it's not. So what's to say that the Kraken's not lurking on the bottom of the gigantic ocean that we have only explored 5% of?
This is it. We know more about the surface of the moon than what's under the ocean. So I think to just throw it out and say no, it doesn't exist, I don't really think that's right. It's like we didn't know about anglerfish, and we didn't know what went on the bottom of the sea floor. Now, as obviously we've gone further with technology, we're starting to find out about what happens with bioluminescence, etc., down in the depths, and how weird anglerfish look with their big teeth, with their the little light bulb at the front of their head.
And then ones that are look like a blob, but with a human face and a human nose. That is just creepy.
Yeah, there's a lot of messed up stuff down there, really.
Yeah.
So I think I couldn't really verify it, but apparently in the 30s there were submarines, or U-boats at least, that said to have been attacked by a squid-like creature. Now, I couldn't verify that, but there was at least 3 reports. And I don't know whether that's that the submarine just drove into a squid, and then by the time they got off, they went, oh, look, and it was kind of wrapped round the front of it, and they thought, oh, it's tried to attack us.
But they actually, clipped it or something, and it got a bit annoyed.
Yeah, it was just like a head-on collision, and then it suckered on.
Yeah.
Certainly, I'd say during the time of wooden boats and when the Vikings were crossing the oceans, I think if they would have come across a squid that was 13 metres in length, I think Columbus's boat was only 60 foot in length. So if you're putting them up together, it could probably roughly the same size.
Yeah.
If you're coming across that, you'd be scared.
And it is one of those things as well. Like, I know that there was always stories of sea serpents and stuff. And then, of course, we discovered oarfish. And if you've never seen an oarfish, they are absolutely huge. They're so long that if you just saw one like swimming up next to your ship, you might potentially think it's a sea serpent, but it's actually an oarfish. But what exactly could you misinterpret a giant octopus as? Do you know what I mean? Like, I know they're saying, back in those days, people couldn't really explain what they were actually seeing because they didn't have anything close, and they were just sort of, they were finding the next closest thing that they knew about and saying, oh, it was a giant squid because that's all that we, like how they used to say, sailors used to see bloody, what do you call it, seals and walruses and stuff and think they were bloody mermaids. There's nothing else like an octopus in the world that you could possibly say was an octopus or a squid.
Yeah, and they're describing it the same way, you know.
Yeah.
Even when you look at it like round, flat, and full of arms or branches. I mean, full of arms in the sea.
Exactly. What else is it going to be? There's nothing you could misidentify it as. I don't understand if you see a lot of tentacles, what exactly it could be other than a squid or an octopus.
Even outside of that, maybe a new species, but they all kind of look uniform. It can be a new genus, but they've got the uniform look of the tentacles.
Still going to be a cephalopod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there were massive things. And as well, things die out and things go round. I mean, there was miniature woolly mammoths living on the Isle of Crete.
Adorable.
Yeah, but they kind of, because of evolution, they had to shrink themselves down. So over time, because the island wasn't that big, they kind of evolved to be smaller.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what the giant squid have done. They've grown down, kind of thing. So maybe in the past they were massive.
Possibly, yeah.
And now with commercial fishing, overfishing,
taking away their food source.
Yeah, then maybe that's a factor that something has happened there. But
yeah,
it's one of that. I don't know. I'd be quite happy if they didn't exist.
Well, given that it took them so long to find the Titanic, like to actually get down to the wreck of the Titanic, which they knew exactly where it sank. It was a humongous ship. And it was so far down on the bottom of the ocean. It took them that long to find that. It's not really surprising that they haven't found anything like a Kraken or a Meg or... Now, I'm not saying that they actually exist. It's just that there's so many things that they could have found that if you don't know where you're looking to start with, that's kind of half the battle.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, it's their territory.
Yeah.
That's their home. They live there. They know where to go. I mean, I live round here. I know the back streets kind of thing. If I don't want to get seen...
Bet you do.
Well, for different reasons. But if I don't want to get seen, I won't be getting seen. And it's the same more so for anything that's in water, because they're just evolved to be swimmers. Like the great white shark is just... It's just a swimming machine, and
it is.
I think if there is something out there that big, it will only be seen when it needs to be. It's like the Greenland shark. We've only just recently found out that they're 300 years old.
Yeah.
But that's because it doesn't come up that often. It just stays down on the bottom where it needs to be. And there's only been 1 or 2 sightings of them, so... I hope that there's not a massive, scary sea creature out there, but you never know.
Oh, I want there to be. I don't go on many cruises. In fact, I don't go on any cruises. I've never been on a cruise in my life.
They're really cheap at the minute.
I would like to see somebody's like home video footage of like being on a cruise or something, and then like the Kraken just launching itself out of the water and wrapping itself around the cruise ship.
That would be... I was going to say hilarious, but it would be horrifying, to be quite honest. Yeah.
It would be horrifying, but it would get the hits on YouTube.
Well, that's it. That's what it's all about. By the way, like and subscribe.
So real.
Yeah. I mean, have you found out any more sea beasties or anything more to say on the Kraken?
I have. So, not necessarily the Kraken, although I did read about Bloop. Did you hear about Bloop?
No.
It was basically this huge, massively noisy frequency that had been picked up on sonar coming from the bottom of the ocean. And it was so loud that there was this like conspiracy theory that it was this humongous sea monster lying on the bottom of the ocean that had made this noise. And it was just, it kept going for years and years, and it was just baffling scientists. Just and the like the tinfoil hat community, my friends, we're just going nuts, going, oh my god, this is proof that there is a gigantic sea monster on the bottom of the ocean. Turns out it was actually debunked as being a huge amount of sea ice scraping on the bottom of the seabed, and it made like a kind of as it's like scraped on the bottom of the ocean, and that's what was making it. So that was debunked, and everybody was like, oh, no Kraken.
Sounded like Dory for a minute.
So there was that one, and I was a bit disappointed because I was all on board with the tinfoil hat people. I had my hat firmly in place, and then I read that, and I was like, oh, god damn it. So what I did come across, other than that, is a bit dubious. But in 1914, and I think that you know about this one as well. There was a U-28 that got commissioned into the German Navy, and it sank a British steamer called the Iberian in July in 1915. So what happened was, allegedly, the U-28 had sent a message to the Iberian saying, you're in our waters, you're fair game, stop, and nobody gets hurt. And the British kind of just stuck their fingers in their ears, and they were like, they're trying to send us a message, but we're just going to go, we can't hear you.
La, 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 la.
And so the Germans are like, we did say stop, so, okay. And they fired a torpedo at the Iberian. So the Iberian exploded, and apparently as the survivors of the Iberian were being carted back onto the U-28, the German commander who was on board said, it served you jolly well right for not stopping.
Wow.
I don't feel like that's a German thing to... Jolly well right?
Yeah, I think that's been mistranslated there, but...
Yeah, it sounds like a very British phrase. Serves you jolly well right. So I don't think that's how... Unless like war was really, really polite back then. But anyway, the commander of the German U-boat, he said... When it exploded, when the Iberian exploded, there was a massive explosion of debris in the water, and a gigantic aquatic animal, along with debris, was hurled into the air. Apparently, this aquatic animal was a crocodile, and it was 60 feet long. It had webbed feet, a pointed head, and 4 limbs, which... if you've seen any pictures, or if you've seen Jurassic World, resembles a mosasaur, the one that eats the PA, dives out of the water and eats her. Now, 7 people were killed on the Iberian, which means that 61 people survived, but nobody else saw this massive, big crocodile launched out of the water. There was only the alleged commander of the U-boat, and he apparently put it in his log. That's how serious he was about it. But I can't find any record of this log at all, and it's a bit dubious. I don't think. I mean, 61 people. If you were in the British Navy and you saw a massive crocodile launched out of the submarine that you'd just been on, you would shit yourself, and it would be the first thing you tell all the lads in the pub when you get home. That story would have been rife. I found it in one paper, and that's it.
Yes, well, one source things we don't talk about them, do we? I did read that story as well, and it is a little bit bizarre, to say the least, that nobody else actually ratified it and went, yeah, I seen that. It was
like one person out of 100 saw this.
It's it'd be lovely. Well, it wouldn't be lovely to believe that there's crocodiles, but probably talk about it in another episode. But the Loch Ness monster is supposed to be a plesiosaur, isn't she? So they do want to believe that dinosaurs are still there. There's still some kind of missing link out there.
But there's been so many sightings of Nessie. Do you know what I mean? There's just this one of this giant crocodile. It's like people aren't frightened if they see what they think is Nessie, even if it's a log floating along, Loch Ness. They're like, oh my God, it's Nessie. And they'll tell all their friends, and then it'll be in the paper, and then all the pictures or the videos or the YouTube videos will be, on in the papers. But if it's a giant crocodile, you would think people would be equally as likely to tell everyone, and it would receive equal publicity, as opposed to this one guy who just wrote it down so matter of fact, and the Iberian exploded, and debris and a large aquatic animal was seen being launched out of the water. There are 61 survivors who are now
And I mean as well, when was the Nessie's first sight? Was it 1917? So it's kind of around the time when they'd want to, maybe not promote it, but there is that the sea monsters with Nessie. They're trying to push Nessie. It's in the consciousness, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why. No one's heard about it. Probably
exactly.
Yeah, you'd think there'd be more coverage of it.
Yeah, at the very least, he might have logged it as OMG, as opposed to, well, he didn't log it at all.
Jolly well deserved it.
Do you know what? That was the bit that made me think that the story was less believable than the giant 60-foot
yeah.
crocodile. Like that a German ship that's just torpedoed a British ship has turned around and said, it serves you jolly well right.
Something wrong here with this.
This is not a real story.
Pretty sure. That should be alarm bells all over that. I've read a few, and they're mostly like sea serpents.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously there's been sea serpents throughout the different cultures and mythologies, from like ancient Mesopotamian, Hebrew, Greek, Norse. In the Norse mythology, we've got Jomo, who is Jormungandr, which is the I'll get pronunciation.
I was legit. I was just about to say that sounds like it's been shortened, like Bojo, or you actually have shortened it.
Yes, I categorically I was told not. I weren't allowed to say that, so I said it. But yeah, it's not Jomo. It's Jormungandr, and it's one of Loki's children, right?
You'd be devastated.
Yeah. So Loki's children, right? I'm just going to go off on a tangent now. Are a giant snake, a wolf, and Hel, goddess of the underworld, right? I mean, he weren't firing blanks, but God knows what he was firing out. Because how do you come up with that seed?
Incest.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Tom Huddleston and you go, ooh, puts me right off him. Knowing that he's got...
Oh, it doesn't put me off him.
He's got a wolf child. Well, okay. But anyway, yes. So, Odin threw them into the Great Sea, and the sea serpent grew so large that it was able to surround the earth and grasp its own tail. Thor had a few run-ins with him, and it said that at the coming of Ragnarok, Thor and Jormungandr will battle. And Thor, he'll kill the beast, but then he will walk 9 steps before succumbing to the poison and the bites that he will have inflicted on him. 9 steps is pretty specific, but...
He could just be carried everywhere then, couldn't he?
He could.
Just don't take 9 steps.
Just use your hammer and fly.
Yeah.
Keep hovering. Because he can hover as well, can't he? Yeah. Don't even need to walk.
Yeah. Exactly.
He must have a Fitbit. That must be why he's doing all the steps.
He's got the same Fitbit as me then if he's only walked 9 steps.
Well, yeah. Be like, come on, Thor, dickhead. Try harder. So, yeah, in Greek mythology, there was the Hydra, which was the Lernaean Hydra. It was a many-headed serpentine water creature that terrorised villages from a cave.
There's that cage again.
I know, I keep doing that. I don't know what it is. Now, this is weird because it's a serpentine water creature, but it lives in a cave, and I don't understand, unless It's like a river.
Is it an underwater cave?
But he comes out and then slithers about and terrorises villagers. So I don't understand how that works, even looking at it. But he's found in both Greek and Roman mythology, and Hercules killed it during his 12 labours. And this is an interesting story because during this battle, Ares sends a giant crab to attack Hercules, which he just steps on. So I don't know how giant this crab was, if I'm honest.
Did Ares not hear that Hercules had already bested the Hydra and that massive lion, and now he's like, you know what, I'm going to send a crab and see how he deals with that. Hercules is just like, really? I feel insulted.
Yeah, that's the thing. It says giant crab and he just steps on it and it's like, right, okay.
I mean, half the greatest creatures in the world, in the mythological world, were extinct just from meeting Hercules.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Dickhead.
He shouldn't have killed his wife, should he, and his kids? That's what Stella does to you, Hercules. And in 1817, there was the American sea serpent, which was first sighted off Massachusetts. So it was described as a dark snake-like creature with a horse-shaped head, and it moved up and down in the water like a caterpillar. Off Cape Cod, a cannon was fired at it, but rather than run away, the sea serpent turned around and charged the boat with its jaws open.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, and it just followed them for 5 hours. Just swimming near them. In 1948, sailors of the HMS Daedalus spotted an enormous fish with a mane of a horse and a flat snake head, which was raised 4 feet out of the water. Now, that last one was off the coast of Namibia, so it's not necessarily the American sea serpent. And the American sea serpent one is kind of explained away by there was an oarfish that was, obviously you talked about them before, there was an oarfish that was in the water, and they do kind of, maybe not an up and down motion, but they do go from side to side. They are very serpent-like. They don't actually have scales as a fish, and to see them...
They're scary-looking things.
Yeah, they are. They're quite wide.
Yeah.
They're very thin, but they're quite wide, and they can grow up to 8 metres in length.
Imagine if you were just like doggy paddling in the sea or something and just one of them swam up to you. You would absolutely cack yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like the sea at the best of times.
Same.
But having stuff you don't usually see come at you is would be horrible.
I would kind of feel exactly the same about seeing an oarfish as I would have been encircled by a shark. I would be terrified on the same level.
Yeah, it'd be horrendous.
Just because they're so huge. I mean, they're not aggressive, I don't think, oarfish, are they?
No, not at all.
They just look terrifying.
But they're just... It's just the size. Yeah, the size in comparison to...
Huge.
Anything else.
So is that the Daedalus? Is that the one... Was that the British frigate? Is that...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the... Apparently they sat and watched that for 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that one, it was off the coast of Namibia, I think, and I think it was more, maybe, because the head was out the water, I think it was more, maybe it was a seal or something akin to that, whereas it says it's got a mane of a horse. I think it was just seaweed that was caught up on it.
Well, oarfish have like a red mane, don't they?
Frill. Yeah, they've got the frill going down the back, don't they? So
I know that from Animal Crossing. 10,000 bells you can get from an oarfish, you know.
Well, I'll be.
Off topic. Anyway. Did you read about the U-85 in 1918?
No.
So apparently there was another. It's always a bloody U-boat. The U-85 sank in
Goddamn
1918.
Germans again.
Following an attack by a sea creature. That's what the captain said. He was like, the ship the U-boat sank because we were attacked by a sea creature. But I think really at the root of it, he was a terrible captain, they were a terrible crew, and they accidentally like sailed into the path of a torpedo. And then just didn't want anybody to go, you are the worst crew ever. So they just said they were attacked by a sea monster, and that's what sank them. Also, the USS Stein.
Did no one follow up
No.
with questions on that
No.
one? You were attacked by what now?
Yeah, they just got away with it.
Fair enough.
So, like, the next time you don't feel like going into work, you just say, my house got invaded by a T-Rex. Sorry, I'm currently dealing with clearing up glass and smashed windows and things like that. And then if it doesn't work, you could be like, well, shit. It worked in the friggin' 1920s, damn it. Why is it not working now?
Come on.
It's perfectly reasonable. But no, the USS Stein, I think, is one of the more heard of ones. In 1978, it was attacked by a giant squid that they said was 150 feet long. And they battled with it for a long time. They were quite brave, actually. They proper went for it and they battled with it and they killed it. And they hauled its corpse out of the water and they kept it on the ship so they could bring it back for like the scientists to, dissect and stuff. But like after 2 weeks, the smell was so bad that they couldn't deal with it anymore. Bear in mind, this is a once-in-a-lifetime catch that they found, and they couldn't deal with the smell anymore, so they threw it overboard.
Okay.
And then they came back and they were like, yeah, we got attacked by a giant squid. It was 150 feet long. Honestly, we battled for ages. We were brave as. And then we were going to bring it back to show you as proof that we really did do this. But it was just the smell was just like, oh, it was rank. So we just threw it back in the ocean. So you just really got to take our word for it. But it defo did happen. Promise.
Yeah, it's like them fishermen's...
Why would you just deal with the smell?
Fisherman stories like, oh, you should have seen it. It was this big, honest. But
yeah.
surely they were used to dealing with bad smells. Fish don't smell great at the best of times.
No.
And
I mean, presumably they would have, if somebody had died. Oh well, were they doing burials at sea all the time, or were they keeping bodies and sending them back to land for their families? Because then presumably they would have had bodies on board, for like soldiers and things like that. So
put them in the bottle of brandy, the case of brandy, like they did with
yes,
the Kismet, man. Kiss me, Hardy.
Although they could have just like filled the entire bottom deck with brandy and then hauled it down the stairs and let it soak in there. I guess they had to leave it on the deck because it was so big. But I mean, could they not have?
Why didn't they just tow it behind them?
Yeah. Actually,
there's so many easier things they could have done.
It's very suspicious.
Like, take a picture.
Yeah, it was 1978. There must have been somebody with a camera on board.
Yeah.
I also read a story about, and I can't actually, I read it ages ago, and I can't actually find the bloody thing now, but there was a story that the same kind of thing in the war, and it was a naval ship or something, and they thought that they like beached it because there was this like massive crash into the side of the hull, and it was damaged, so they kind of made for the nearest harbour, and when they got there, the hull was damaged so badly, but it had like like when you were saying that the tentacles have claws on.
Yeah.
So they had those kind of indents all the way along the hull, and there was a massive tear all the way down it that resembled a beak from like an octopus.
Okay.
And when they measured like the indent and how big the beak had to be, and I think there was one of the claws from the tentacles stuck in the hull or something. They were like, this creature had to have been like 50 feet long or something like that. But it had done some serious damage to this naval ship. It basically tore through steel. That's how hardcore it was. And I can't find that story for the life of me. But that was so matter of fact reported as well. It's like in those days they were just attacked by sea creatures left, right, and centre. It was just like the daily, just normal thing.
Yeah, I think they just Just the way they explained it, stiff upper lip.
Yeah. But, I mean, you don't go through a spat of having ships attacked left, right and centre by sea creatures, only in the war, and then nothing.
Yeah.
Ever since.
Yeah, that's it. It's when there's not enough documented cases of them, like, at least with Bigfoot or something like that, there's regular documentation, or stories of them coming out.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Whereas,
sightings, yeah.
Maybe now that boats are just too big, like oil tankers and shipping tankers and stuff like that, and
yeah,
when that's going over, maybe they're just the same size as the beasts now, and if they saw it, they wouldn't think much of it because it's not that big, in reference.
Or maybe all the sea monsters just live in the Bermuda Triangle.
That too, yeah, definitely.
Where they've got the excuse to just take as many ships as they want. And if they fancy the odd plane here or there, crack on. Or Kraken.
Well, yeah, indeed. I mean, there is one in the Japanese aquatic cryptid. Have you seen this?
The Ninjin?
Yes, the Ninjin.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean...
a mermaid, essentially.
Look, I mean, whoever came up with the concept of it is what's
an ugly mermaid.
Yeah, what's it? Look, it looks like a sperm on legs.
Yeah.
So
it's not. It looks. Do you know what I think it looks like? Is a beluga whale.
Yeah.
It's got that like round white head.
Yeah. And then legs, but
yeah.
So the Ninjin is it's a cryptid. More than anything. It's not even a cryptid, it's just a made-up thing. I mean, it did start out on 2chan, the website of the precursor to 4chan, so that's kind of what you're looking at. It's basically... Ninjin means human in Japanese, so it's basically got human appendages. It's got 2 legs, arms, and even fingers. It's a weird thing to look at, and it was first reportedly seen by a Japanese whaling research ship in the Antarctic, and since then it's been kind of reported. I mean, outside of 2chan, a Japanese publication that covers paranormal phenomenon did do a article on it. The magazine was called MU magazine, but I think that's mostly just pulled from the 2chan forum rather than it being its own thing.
Yeah.
But there is kind of rumours going about if that the Japanese government is going round telling people who claim to have seen this thing that they haven't seen this thing, and that
really,
yeah, apparently, and the Japanese government is obviously working to get all these articles and forum posts of this cryptid taken off the internet because they want to keep it a secret.
Why? What? Just let the rumours keep circulating and go, it doesn't even merit our interest because it's so very ridiculous. Purely by taking stuff down makes it suspicious.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really think they are. I just think people are trying to double bluff it just to make it more real than it is. But it's really not real.
That you know of.
Okay, the ocean's big. Like, there's so much sea, and as we said at the beginning, where we know more about the surface of the moon than we do about the ocean. But 100% guarantee you that the Ninjin does not exist.
Me and my tinfoil hat disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you, if you were swimming and that swam up next to you, goof, God, I'd make more of a mess than the Kraken.
Okay, so think evolution, right? Think we all kind of came from fish, and then we got onto land, and then we turned into apes, and then we turned into people. What about the fish that went, I'm quite happy just being a fish, but I would quite fancy having a bit of a bigger brain and being able to do cool things like, I don't know, fart underwater or, sing underwater. And then those people evolved into fish people, like Ninja. No?
Have you quite finished?
That's legit the only way I can work that. So it's a beluga whale, or it's evolution, or it doesn't exist, and I don't want it to.
Why would you grow legs if you're in the sea? They're counterproductive. Because they don't swim. They just walk very slowly on the bottom of the ocean, without a care in the world. Like a Mr. Soft advert. Jesus.
Yes. No, it's like, think about it when Sebastian sings Under the Sea, right?
I'm adding this in post-edit, but Under the Sea includes the line, "Darling, it's better, down where it's wetter, take it from me."
It's a very chill song. It's all cool down there, so they got nought to worry about. They don't need fins to rush around. It's just all like, they just sit and listen to Bob Marley and they walk very slowly through the water. Or maybe they've got them like fins that cut through the water on their kneecaps or something, so it makes them walk just like normal underwater because it cuts through the water. And like sharp fins on their nipples or something, so they just pierce through the water at a normal pace, walking along the bottom. They've got Aldi's and everything down there, man. That's where Atlantis is.
And the Nazis.
And the Aryans.
Yeah.
These things keep me up at
Indeed,
night,
Yeah, I can imagine that. That keeps you up at night, Jesus.
No, legit, like I try and make it fit and I'm lying there and I'm like, but what if? What if some of the fish went, nah, you're right, I don't fancy land. It's shit. I'll stay here. And then like Dave's like next to me and he's going like, yeah, and now they're called fish. Just ordinary fish. Like, no, their evolution can't have stopped there. What if they wanted more out of their lives?
That is, evolution isn't like a career choice. It's not like, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Well, actually, I see myself with legs walking about on the bottom of the ocean. Okay, Nemo.
With shards on my kneecaps and on my nipples so I can cut through the water faster than anybody else.
Yeah.
The great whites don't come down here because our brains are more evolved than theirs, that they're terrified of us.
I want to be the first Aldi owner of the Mariana Trench. That's my hopes and dreams.
See, now when you say it like that, it sounds stupid. It sounded so perfectly reasonable in my head.
Oh, so I'm so sorry to punch holes in your theories.
Well,
it'd be nice to imagine, but no.
Himmler believed it.
I wouldn't be putting yourself alongside Himmler if I were you.
Think of the phone calls I could have had with him.
Good God, yeah, both of you in your tinfoil hats.
If I said to him, no, Himmler, wait, hear me out, right? What about if the fish went, nah, I don't want to go there? He'd be like, no, you are right. Very true. He would get me.
It's so simple. I can't believe it.
This is while we're in our new Arthurian castle. I'm one of the Knights of the Round Table.
Just sat round the round table, like, just shooting the breeze, aren't you?
Yeah. Talking about how if fish went, nah.
Yeah. On that bombshell. This is...
You haven't said the Kraken was the right one.
Kraken was the right one.
Hey.
No, I think to be honest with you, you have been the right one in this episode. I think with your twisted tinfoil hat dreams.
You know what it is, right? Give me facts and newspaper clippings in the multitudes and stuff, and I'm all over that stuff. But give me cryptids and stuff that you can't explain, and I just invent my own.
You have to work it out in your head that it's possible in a way to you, and then you come up with Aldi.
I make it fit. Yeah. I mean, yeah. It's as far as I go, Aldi, though, isn't it? I don't go any further than that. That is my life.
Well, exactly.
It's a day trip.
You need more inspiration, don't you? Really?
I do. I do. It's a day trip for me, Aldi. I get spoiled if I go Tesco.
Jesus, don't push the boat out. Come on, Dave. Calm down. God, should be thinking about further afield.
I know, the big B&M.
Yeah.
Kid hell. Oh, swoon just thinking about it. Think of all the cups I can buy.
So, on that bombshell, this has been the MO podcast. And I've been your host, Conservation Ant.
And I've been your tinfoil hat contributor, Atreya.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Dream of ninjas.